And once open contact begins in 2023, approximately how long will it take for the Earth to be healed? And will the hybrid children help us bring that to fruition?
Yes, they will. Now, again, remember, you're not changing the version of Earth that you're on. So when you say, how long will it take for the Earth to be healed? The versions of Earth that do not wish to be healed will never be healed. You will simply shift yourself to versions of Earth that are already healing or already healed. That's how you experience that change. But the presence of the hybrid children will be reflective of the fact that you've already shifted to a world that is more in the healing vibration. Otherwise, they wouldn't show up on a version of Earth that wasn't. So in a sense, they're helping you by the fact that they exist on the planet, on the version of Earth that you've shifted to, letting you know as a sign that because you can experience them, you've already shifted to the version of Earth in which it's all right for them to exist. It's not that you've changed the version you used to be on.
Okay, and one person wanted to know if you could share with us in your ancient language a word that represents, well, they gave several words. One is excitement, one is passion, one is act on your excitement, one is transformation, compassion, and God, or all that is. So take your pick.
Well, we've already shared with you the idea of acting on our passion, and that is Shivai. We have also given you the idea of acting out of service, and that is Aveo. The idea of all that is simply O.
Oh.
Yes, O.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Any other ones that you want to share before we move on?
Ish.
And that means?
No.
No?
Yes.
Ish
no.
means
You
no.
asked me if I wish to share any others. I said ish, thereby sharing with you a word at the same time saying no.
Okay. That was great. Let's see. What are the different types of Bigfoot species? Is the Native American creature called Wendigo a similar entity to Sasquatch? Wendigo is said to afflict people with insatiable hunger, sometimes even cannibalism. And what does this presence signify, and how does Sasquatch regard Wendigo?
The Wendigo is an interdimensional being. It's not Sasquatch. In a sense, Sasquatch is aware of the Wendigo, but they also, to some degree, don't have much to do with them. There are different types of Sasquatch. There is the Susquehannock, and different types in different areas of your planet. Those that you call the Yeti are a slightly different type than the idea you recognize as Sasquatch or Bigfoot in your Americas. There are South American versions, there are European versions, there are Asian versions. So there are different varieties and different species of Sasquatch.
At one time you said that there were beings on this earth, or a being on this earth that is over 1,000 years old. Is this being a human or a different species? And if he or she is a different species, can you elaborate on that?
First, we were referring at that time to those you might refer to as medicine men, medicine women, shamans, and the like. There are a few that are extremely ancient that most people on your planet have no awareness of whatsoever. There are also a few beings on your planet that are not human, that are well over 1,000 years old. We will not discuss them at this time.
Okay. What are gnomes elementals also? What is their function, and are they only present in nature, or can they also be present in our house?
They are elementals. They can be present in your house. They can be present in nature. And the general vibration of gnomes has to do with the delivery of ancient knowledge and stories, although they can do other things. But that's their primary frequency, is to help you get in touch with ancient knowledge through stories. They also are reflective to some degree of the idea of the bonding that exists in a variety of communities. So they are a community-oriented, information-sharing version of an elemental energy.
Can you also explain why redheads are so rare? Redheads with green eyes and freckles only make up 1% to 2% of the population. Did the mutation come from a DNA activation, or are they connected to a specific group of beings?
It came from a DNA mutation to some degree, but that doesn't mean they are not connected to a specific group of beings, because the potential for that DNA activation existed originally in the Anunnaki.
Oh, sorry. See if I have any more questions that I can ask you here. Why are some souls born with a signature vibration that seems offensive to the rest of the people on Earth?
No one is born with a signature vibration that is offensive, but it can seem off-putting based on what they're here to do. If you have a being whose vibration is extremely transparent and raw, it may rub a lot of people the wrong way who, in their belief systems and fear-based ideas, are not willing to look at the pure core of their own vibrations, and they may resent having it, so to speak, rubbed in their faces. So these beings who may come through with a very powerful, pure core vibration may be the beacons for many to use as a marker for when they are clear within themselves, because then they will be able to align with such beings and will not find them threatening or offensive or off-putting. So they can be used as pure markers of the true core frequency that all of you contain. There are exceptions to this, however. It may be that some come through not exhibiting the idea of a core vibration that is representative of their pure core, but an altered form that is designed specifically to ruffle feathers. These are the ones that may help others get in touch with their fear-based beliefs by acting as tricksters and clowns, so to speak, to put them in touch in unusual ways with things they may not have considered and may not enjoy going through, but nevertheless, that's their purpose, is to come through deliberately to upset the apple cart so that people will then put it back together in a new form.
How can we differentiate between not remembering something like ET contact in childhood and not having experienced it at all, at least in a human life?
While there are, again, some exceptions, if you have any interest in asking that question at all, you've probably had contact. And the fact that you're asking an extraterrestrial for an answer to that question is probably a good sign that you've had contact. So look around at the things you're interested in. Look around at the things you make connections to. While it's not always a representation of extraterrestrial contact, it can be a representation simply of the expansion of consciousness and more awareness that there are extraterrestrials without having had direct contact. But generally speaking, our vibration will attract those that have had some form of interaction, generally speaking, probably about 99% of the time.
Okay. And the abduction movie Communion showed a second race of beings working with the Greys that look like little blue trolls.
They're the doctors. They're called the doctors. They monitor, they regulate, they keep things moving, they organize, they help.
And if they are the trolls, does that make the Greys the elves?
You can use that analogy if you wish in a very light way, but they're not trolls. They're a different species that is helpers to the entire hybridization agenda, but in a very specific way, as we have already described.
Okay. And then I guess this would be the last one. I watched a documentary called The Fourth Kind about terrifying mass ET abductions in a town called Nome, Alaska. Can you tell us who abducted these people and why did they cause so much suffering? I feel this is important to understand to help eliminate fear.
All right. Well, first of all, they were simply versions of Greys. And the fear, again, is simply because people didn't understand what was happening. Even though they had spiritually volunteered to be part of the hybridization agenda, many people who experience those things have traumatic experiences because they've never been taught what's going on and they don't remember making an agreement to participate in these things. So the more you are willing to take responsibility for your part in the experience, the more you can ask for the experience to happen on your own terms in a way that you feel in control. Because when these things happen and you're not prepared for it, you're not taught that these things are going on your planet, then you don't necessarily react in a way that is outside of the survival mode. It kicks in and you feel like you are dying, you're out of control. But the idea is that you're not really out of control and you are participating in something you agreed to participate in as part of the transformational evolutionary path of Earth into the sixth hybrid race. So you just have to allow yourself to know more about what's going on, to wrap your mind around this idea as something that you chose to participate in voluntarily from another level, and that it's all right for you to experience these things in a way that doesn't have to be scary if you understand what's going on.
Okay. Well, and all of the exercises that you're giving us also help to awaken our memories as well as to acclimate us to the possibility of contact with.
Yes, especially recently when we talked about the idea of placing the cardboard cutout of an ET outside your window and the things that go with that. If you keep practicing this, you will get used to the idea to the point where it will no longer be a fearful experience to encounter extraterrestrials that are involved in the evolutionary transformation of your world at this time. So keep practicing. And we will always, again, share information with you that helps you elevate your vibration, especially, again, reminding you to follow the formula, which will always elevate your frequency and make you far more vibrationally compatible to any extraterrestrial that you may encounter in any way, shape, or form, and allow you to see more clearly what's really going on behind the curtain, as you say.